Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Media Watch. I'm your host, Dr. Sadi. And we've been off for a while, but we're back with some fantastic guests as per normal. And we have Jatinder back with us. Jatinder, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Also have another fantastic guest with us. His name is Lak. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. Lak or Luck. You know, thousands of bits of luck. Lak, welcome to the show. Now, Lak's actually here because he's going to be talking about his book, an incredible book that he's done. I was going to get him to hold it up, but I'm going to hold it up. It's over here. You can see it here. It's called Master Your Life, The Art of Martial Mind Power. 6 steps to self-mastery inspired by Bruce Lee. We'll be talking about that in a bit. Now, what we normally do in this particular show is that we look at the news from around the world. The program is called Media Watch. We consider a couple of stories. We get our guests who are typically role models, you know, hype you up already, right? To talk about their views and what we can do to change the world and make it a better place, I think, but also to understand what's happening around the world to better inform our viewers. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do that by sending us an email at info@seekchannel.tv, and we look forward to your correspondence. So let's start off with the very first particular story, literally hot off the press. Sadly, we hear that the rebel-held eastern parts of the Syrian city of Aleppo may face total destruction in 2 months' time. You can see that there's a bombardment of that city. You know, I think the US troops are not necessarily, the army, I would say, are not necessarily blasting away. They've got the Russians, they've got the Syrian forces blasting away. We've heard lots about hospitals that have been destroyed. It's a real sad topic in the news, and obviously the ripple effect of all of this is the people that are out in the dinghies. Now, we've featured this story before, you know, a number of times, that people are out there every day that we sleep in our beds. People are out there across the Mediterranean trying to get across and have a better life. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's got in touch with somebody else that a lot of the life jackets that are left behind are now being picked up to be reused in other parts of Africa. Right, but it's really sad, the fact that we have those life jackets, and sadly some lives don't actually make it. I wanted to ask you, you know, in your view, and I'll ask you first, Lak, as ordinary citizens, right? You know, like I said before, we lie at night thinking about this. Your book talks about being a better person, I think, using various principles. That's right. So, are we like self-centered? Should we also be using that power, that knowledge, the improvement to help change the world?
The book talks about coming into your power. It talks about getting into your own state of self-mastery, and all change starts from within. We see catastrophes like that happening across the world, and we ask ourselves questions like, you know, how can I help? What can I do? I am helpless because it's happening in some other corner of the world. But we all have power within us, and when you look inside and you realize actually you are infinite power, and you have the means to have an impact on another person's life through raising your conscious awareness and spreading that love and light through your actions, and you could express that in many different ways. You could do that through charity work. You could do that through merely just raising awareness of something that's happening in some corner of the world, and helping people really connect to themselves. And self-mastery is ultimately about connecting to yourself, your true higher self, connecting to humanity, and most importantly of all is connecting to nature, because we are a product of nature, and we return back to nature when we're finished in this existence here.
Do you think, I was going to say, do you think that as Sikhs, you know, like I always use this phrase, and that we should use it, is it in our DNA to go out and help other people? Because Seva features really strongly in, and what you're talking about is to be,
absolutely,
you know, become strong, you become more confident, but even within yourself, you'd be somebody who want to go out and do Seva. There's loads of organisations like you know, Sikh Channel Aid, and there's SWAT, and there's, you know, Khalsa Aid, and Midland Langar teams. There's loads of people that do work. That's coming from within, right? Yeah, would you say that?
Absolutely. I mean, just recently on Facebook, I saw, I think it's Birmingham team that was doing a Langar Seva in central London, providing food to the locals there. So it's inbuilt, isn't it? I feel that the saver element is built into what we're all about, and where we can, we should contribute where we can, even if it's just locally, because it's like a ripple effect. If you drop a pebble in the water, even though it's focused, the ripple goes out. So in the same way, whatever we can do locally has a knock-on effect in some way or another. Sometimes we don't realize it. Sometimes just feeding someone can have such a massive impact on them. To say, somebody cares about me, someone's actually giving me food, they've done something. It's like passing the light on to someone else. And just that is something that, you're right, it's built into Sikhi. But generally, I think every human being has that desire to help their fellow human being and do whatever they can where they can.
You mentioned before about people, you're seeing that there's another part of the world where it's actually happening, rather than, you feeling that, is it the distance that stops people from taking action? Is it their helplessness? Is it like the fact that they don't have enough of a reach into politicians to, you've got the UN sitting there going, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, right? But people are still doing it. They're not sitting back and stopping, when they power up their jets to go out and drop the bombs. They're not, it's almost like they're blindly killing other people without thinking about the repercussions, and they blindly killing innocent people, So even writing a letter, I think, can help, can't it?
It can. It's quite strange as well, in the sense that what we see on TV nowadays seems like almost like a movie in itself. It's like it's being done in front of us, and therefore we're conditioned to see it. And in most cases, we're like, okay, what do we do? What can we do? And I don't know if there's enough people actually thinking, right, let's make some sort of movement, let's do something about it, let's make a bit of noise to actually do something, right? What do you think on that?
Where does the apathy, is what you're talking about is apathy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we're too far away, or am I really going to make a difference if I do anything? The thought that one person doesn't make a difference. Do you need to have lots of people that make a difference?
Well, I think to make a difference, it really comes down first and foremost to the individual. When the individual comes into their own power, takes responsibility for that, and one person does it, and then another person does it, and then you've got 10 people doing it, 100 people doing it, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, and so on. You start creating a wave, a collective consciousness, a collective movement. And this is where the power of the individual is really important. People don't realise that they give up their power when the moment they come up with an excuse that, oh, this is happening thousands of miles away. How can I possibly do anything? Maybe I can donate some money, and donate money, and 10% may make its way into donating a raft or to flood victims, or for a life vest, or whatever it might be. And the other 90% gets consumed in the administrative process, general rule of thumb around the charity space. As people start working collectively, I think that people are going to take responsibility for making that work, making that change happen themselves.
I think what's interesting is that I know that also I was doing some work with a group of, it was known as the Interfaith Youth Trust, and it was basically created by a Jewish woman who wanted people from different religions to come together, mainly kids, to learn about each other's religion. And they ended up being stronger in terms of knowing about their own religion, because they were trying to explain it to somebody else. But they were maybe doing a project, but their differences disappeared. So when we get people together to work on charity work, they forget that, what religion they're from, because they're all working for a common good, aren't they?
I mean, that reminds me of a story. It's like you have a room which is pitch black, and you've got 100 people in the room, and you can't see anything. You walk around, you're bumping into each other. As soon as one person puts up the light, creates light, creates fire, whatever, all of a sudden everybody can see something. But it's only when you share that light with everybody else that the room gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And in the same way, we have to share what we have, knowledge-wise, wealth-wise, Vandashaku kind of thing, share what you have and share that with society.
There's a very nice movie, I don't know if you've seen it, called Play It Forward.
Yes.
Which actually talks about this little kid who has got a fantastic consciousness, where he says, if I do something good for one person, it's the responsibility for the other person to go and do something good for somebody else. And it kind of, what you were saying about creates that ripple effect.
The law of reciprocity.
And the funny thing is, we live in a society where we're actually programmed to as takers, take. And there's this beautiful ideology in Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah talk about this concept of how we're programmed in a take society where we're trying to get as much as possible and hoard and keep it for ourselves.
The kind of materialistic
That's
wealth.
right.
Yeah.
So this is the whole consumerist society and materialism, which is just another method. But then you've got this completely opposite model, which is one of, you could say, socialism, where it's about give, where if you've got a community of people and your whole objective is to give as much as you possibly can so you have no possessions, guess what happens? Everybody gives and it keeps coming back. You cannot give it away quickly enough because it keeps coming back. And really the whole premise behind that is actually giving is the new receiving. And it will take a whole consciousness shift to move from where we are now into that space.
But are we dangerously going towards in the opposite direction? The other news article that I wanted to cover with you, I'm glad you brought that up, was this issue about free trade and globalization. Mm-hmm. Now we know, since June there's been the Brexit vote. Are we moving to more of a society where, there is this is my country, this is what I produce, this is for my people, it's not for you lot, even though some people might have been in the country for, my father, came in the 1950s, people been here for many, many years, three generations now, plus, but it's all about, looking after yourself and not looking after other people. So suddenly, I saw in an article today, they were talking about, well, if you look at a German worker in terms of their productivity, they could have Thursday off and some of Friday off, compared to a British worker, whatever that means, who actually is inefficient. Well, they're inefficient maybe because the point being lack of infrastructure, the country's a bit poorer, possibly compared to other countries, and also the fact there might be a lack of education as well. So there's so many infrastructure issues that need to improve. Putting that aside, the protectionism that is beginning to creep in of globalization, the beauty of globalization about people. I always thought globalization was about, harmonization, that in one part of the world, certain parts of Africa are really poor. Should we not be doing more to help them in order to enrich their lives, in order to maybe even be more productive ourselves? We're productive in a harmonization flavor rather than be productive to say we made loads of money because we're a country that's making loads of money.
It's an interesting question, but I think really I want to spin it a little bit and say, okay, so what outcome are we trying to achieve with whether we're trying to globalize or not globalize? And isn't that for us to live happily, to have all the resources we need to have comfortable lives, and to spend time with our families and loved ones and do the things that we love and love what we do? And if that's really the objective of our lives, then globalization is a bit of a side issue, in a way.
Right.
And if you look at globalization, that's the whole idea is supposed to be to enrich our lives. And if we're now in a position where we are now fighting to protect what we've got, then it's defeated the whole purpose of what it's supposed to be about. So I think we need to go back to the original hypothesis: is why did we start doing it in the first place? It was to improve opportunities, it was to improve our lifestyles, and others as well. But if we find...
But the others bit has been dropped, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's all about, we don't care about the other country, because I think the phrase that's been used is beggar thy neighbour. It's just like, wow, don't worry about you lot, because as long as I'm looking after number one, whereas, as I was saying before, the whole point of, part of growth is to help somebody else, isn't it?
That's right.
I think there's an element of a reflection of society in what's going on. It's like you're always going to have two sides of what's going on. And one of the sides is there is like a whole bunch of people who do feel, we're not getting anything, we're not getting the value out of this, therefore we need to...
But is it also easy to blame, start going down the blame route?
Blame is the easiest thing to do.
Like, we don't necessarily need to have foreign doctors. We can have them homegrown. But hang on a second, do you not know the NHS in the UK is actually founded much of the survival of the organisation in terms of its day-to-day services is based on people that have come to this country to help provide service across the board.
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I mean, because in one sense, like with the whole kind of internet element of it, there's no borders, right? And it's opened up trade to so many different things. It's like people in India could be making the same amount of money as someone in the US and the UK. But then doing that, so that's when people outsource, for example. But when they do outsourcing, then they think, why should I go and do stuff in my local country because it's cheaper to outsource? So there's that element going on as well, where people think, actually, let's bring it back home. Let's bring the jobs in.
That, they turn it on its head by people that are from India, like 100,000 graduates or whatever it is that come out of Hyderabad. Some of them are coming to the West to help give their skills and settle down and maybe bring their families here and bring that expertise. I mean, look at a number of people that are in IT, you know, who just so happen to come from the subcontinent, you know, who can write fantastic routines and write loads of good programs, you know. I mean, some major brains going there, aren't there? You know?
That's right.
You know.
But I think the whole globalization issue is flawed, and the reason it's flawed is the full foundation of protectionism is based on hypocrisy. Because if we're trying to protect something and not let anything in or let anything out, then then we shouldn't be driving German cars, right? We shouldn't be wearing clothes that are made in India or some other second world country. We shouldn't be using electronics that are made in Taiwan and China and so on.
Or your Apple phone.
Exactly, right? So here we are living essentially a life of luxury with products that are sourced from at the disadvantage of other nations, and we have got the goal to turn around and say, oh, we're going to protect our own interests. Nothing can come in, nothing can go out, while this still carries on. So I think the whole idea is flawed. I think we need to revisit why we started doing this in the first place and start honouring that rather than the people or the systems that are in place.
Which are exploitative, maybe.
Absolutely, for economic or other reasons, whatever they might be.
It's interesting, actually. I want to spend some time talking about your book, actually.
Yeah, please do.
I had a very quick flick through, you know. This is not the Richie and Judy book club. Maybe we should do one of those, you know. Somebody else read the book and I could summarise it. No, I'm not saying that they do that. But so I'm going to show you the book again, which is here, right? Put it up so that you can have a nice clue. And I think you've got a picture of it there so you can see it in detail. This book is called Master Your Life. Tell us about it. What inspired you to write this book? How long did it take for you to write it? I guess it's difficult to summarise all the key elements, but we can buy this on Amazon.
Yep, you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to marshallmindpower.com.
Brilliant.
There's loads of resources and supplemental materials there to help you through that process.
But what would be my aim for getting the book? Is it something that's kind of more of something that can coach me into being a better person in terms of using some key principles? There's 9 steps to self-mastery, and the principles and philosophies in that are based on martial art and philosophy, based on Bruce Lee's martial art and universal martial principles and philosophies. The ultimate goal is really to be a master of your life and to come into your own power, and the way to do that is it takes you from stage 1 through a black belt system all the way up to your black belt, which is your self-mastery stage. And, as Bruce said, self-conquest is the greatest of victories. Mighty is he who conquers himself. And it's about mastering your actions and mastering your mind so that you can act with a raised level of consciousness, your higher, what I call your true, authentic higher self. So you do martial arts as well?
I do, absolutely.
So there's a physical side of it?
Absolutely.
Right, but there's also like a mental part of it too?
Yes.
In terms of being more awakened, is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. I refer to the process as physical and mental cultivation as 2 sides of a coin. You've got the physical cultivation aspect, which is cultivating your body for combat and for fitness and health. And then you've got the other side, is cultivating your mind so that you can apply those principles, philosophies in life. And the collective is the whole coin, the indivisible whole. And it's about using it to live a life of excellence. Kung Fu, the definition of Kung Fu is to develop expertise and excellence over a prolonged period of time through hard work. And the whole idea is about modeling excellence and becoming your excellent version of yourself. And that only comes when you look inside and go through that process. So this book is really a DIY manual to do that. So there's 3 stages, what I say, move your body, move your mind, move to success. And success, there's 8 areas of your life that you can cultivate success in, and finance is just one of those. And I think people have this definition that success is only monetary. It's absolutely not. You're missing the other 7 areas. And you can read about those 7 areas in that and the processes to do that. It's about understanding your true life purpose. What were you put on this planet to do? And we talked about seva earlier on, and for me ultimately it's about seva. It's about helping enlighten people, bring people into their true power, their original freedom. And when they do that, guess what? They'll lead other people there as well.
You've been involved in this book, right?
Yeah,
helping
absolutely.
to bring it to market.
Absolutely.
Part of your entrepreneur stuff.
That's right. I mean, I'm a massive Bruce Lee fan. Always wanted to do his martial art, and then I came across Lak's classes. When I met up with him, and we just clicked straight away because we started talking about Bruce and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that Lak was also noticed was that, back in the day they used to talk about mind, body and spirit. And what's happening is that a lot of people are forgetting the mind side of things, the kind of knowledge, the vidya, the education side of things. They're going straight into the hard, tough kind of style. They're losing the saintly side and going to the soldier side, right? So Lak wanted to bring that back as well. He wants to cultivate that in his students, in people out there. Say, look, you have to have the knowledge in order to use the weapon, which is a traditional gatka element as well, because you couldn't learn martial art for the special gatka before, just like that. You had to have the vidya knowledge before you were given permission to actually handle a sword and a weapon.
Right. Okay.
And having the knowledge and that side of it allows you to have better control of the martial side of things, and that's where the martial mind power element.
Do you think also
is
it makes you more responsible in terms of the decisions that you make? You kind of become more strategic in what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah? The Trinity is body, mind, and then you've got your spirit. Once you align your body and spirit, and there's a congruency there, then you transcend. You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So you've got the triangle, but a lot of people fail to recognize there's actually a circle at the top of that, which is transcendence. And ultimately, the transcendence is as the top of my triangle too. Is the same circle. It's transcendence, and when you transcend, you're basically coming into your highest state of consciousness, and consciousness is the key word. Is becoming aware, becoming present, becoming alive, and acting in a responsible way, talking in a responsible way. And once you start doing that, then you have that ripple effect that JT was talking about.
So let's talk about Bruce Lee for a second, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people are inspired by Bruce Lee. We can remember, is that 1976 or something, was it? Or
73 he passed away.
73, when was that movie, Enter the Dragon? That
Enter the Dragon, 73.
That was like that famous scene with across the Hong Kong harbour.
That's right.
When they go out to fight, and then there's a lot of really good Bruce Lee movies that came out. Right. He himself went into Hollywood, didn't he?
He only ever did one Hollywood movie,
okay.
which was Enter the Dragon. All the others were Chinese movies that just made it big into the West.
Sadly, we almost ran out of time, actually, because you could talk about this. We do a whole program. It's really amazing, actually. But in, say, 30 seconds, you could tell us, or less than that, tell us, what was the main thing that attracted you to Bruce Lee?
It was just his presence. Just the presence, the spirit.
Good. That's enough.
And part of the book is to help share that and keep his spirit alive.
Fantastic. Brilliant. We're going to have to stop it there.
For me, it was the art of fighting without fighting.
Well, that's it. I'm afraid we've run out of time. We've had a fantastic chat together with my brilliant guests. Appreciate them coming in and giving up their time to come and talk about the fantastic book and also discuss the stories from the last few weeks. We look forward to seeing you next time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.